Welcome to Captive Conversations. I'm your host, Adam from Captive Wi-Fi. Join us as we dive into behind-the-scenes stories of hospitality leaders, exploring tech, operations, and marketing through the eyes of the experts. Let's get the inside scoop together. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Episode 34. I have managed to steal Jon Horsfield from Centegra, CRO. Lots of different roles previously, but now CRO. I've known Jon for a very long time.
Very long.
I had a bit more hair last time. Yeah. But to be fair, you're doing pretty all right, to be honest with you. Like it's all gone. So, but yeah, we've met a long time ago. We've gone through interesting like different variations from like Radiant, which is old school names, to others, and the transition. So we're gonna have an interesting conversation about your history because it's pretty cool, and we're going to learn about the future, and we're going to learn more about what's happening because some of the stuff is pretty cool. I mean, we did some little videos at the Hospitality Tech, so that was pretty exciting. So I'm quite excited for that. So we're going to dive in to the questions. So the last question from the last guest was Robbie from ePossibility. And he says, his first question is, what is the one missed opportunity that you've had?
Good question, Robbie. I think probably many years ago I used to live in Australia, and originally I was going to come back via India, but I didn't because I was having far too good a time in Australia. So I just skipped. So technically I've been on the ground in India, but I flew straight back. So that would be, a missed opportunity. I would have loved to have done that.
Yeah.
There's still time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you need to retire soon, yeah? And then second question, which is pretty simple, cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs. We have a cat. We have a very old cat, 18-year-old. But we've also got two rescue dogs. We've got a Labrador who is 9, 10, 11, we don't know. And he likes to be invited to go out for a second walk in the evening and then sit down. And then we've also got a bonkers cockapoo. Who keeps us busy. Yeah, cockapoos are pretty. Yeah, she's pretty manic.
Yeah, it's like the dog that has ADHD.
Oh, completely. She is there. I sit down. She knows where I'm going to sit.
Amazing. Okay, we're going to jump into standard questions. So the first question is best hospitality experience.
Probably. I think it's an easily accessible one. And last year, I took my mum to the Ivy for her birthday.
Which one?
In Manchester.
Okay, yeah.
And they treated her like she was the most important person in the room, and it's. I think the thing that's struck me is the fact that it is accessible, but they're taking the levels of service to a much higher level, and she still raves about it now. So, and I've been to the Ivy a few times since.
Yeah. Same one or different ones?
Different ones. And they've all been exactly the same experience. So as a wider brand of something that what you're going to get. The Ivy's pretty good.
Interesting.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's a great brand. I like the expansion, and I had no idea that Bills was linked to it. So
I didn't know that.
I didn't know either.
No, I didn't know that.
Their office is down there, so you can just out when you walk past, just go in and say you need to change your tech stack, and pop in.
Hello, the Ivy.
They literally said we're 26 Fitzroy Square. They're 26 Conway Street.
Okay.
So you can where the snowmans are, you'll see it's really nice. Take a selfie and send it. Anyway, it's interesting. It's nice, and you're right. Accessibility is important, and if you can keep that accessibility side and make the experience side, that's good. Really okay, next question. Best hospitality tech, but we generally say no self-noms.
So I'm not allowed to talk about Mashkin.
We're going to talk about that later anyway.
Fair enough.
So you're going to blow my mind and everyone else's mind about it. So we're there's no issues talking about it.
I'm glad you sent me this question beforehand. I have been sent these questions beforehand.
Yeah. So the last guy didn't. I gave him the wrong ones, and he was like, "Oh." So yeah.
I think the best thing that I've seen, there's a lot of muchness. There's a lot of people doing the similar things in a similar way. I think the best thing I've seen recently is actually Candid.
Okay.
Hospitality.
Yeah, Sam Brown.
With Sam, because they're doing something different. And it's quite difficult to do that in this industry now.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably, it's really interesting. Maybe sort of sitting, okay, there's something different there.
Yeah.
And they are doing something different. So that's really, really interesting.
No, I agree. I think that it's interesting that they sat down and tried to find a problem to fix. I don't like the word problem, but generally, if you can fix a problem, they've actually fixed a problem. And at the last show, I pulled him aside and we did a little bit of content, and he was everyone said to me, he's so excited about it.
I know, yeah,
which is really nice.
Well, it's taking off. Yeah, and it really is.
Yeah. Well, there's no one else really doing it, so if you can find something that no one's doing, you're already winning.
Exactly.
So yeah, okay, perfect. So okay, so we're gonna go back in time. So like, and we're going. I need one of those buttons, don't I, to do that?
Yeah.
So we're gonna go back in time. We're gonna talk about where it all came from, where it all started, origins of like. Did you? I think you. I know that you originally worked. I will say that ChatGPT does a great deep dive on you. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Most of this, literally was great because
really,
especially with the recent hospitality tech one, because they did a nice bio on you. So ChatGPT went straight to that.
I need to go and ChatGPT myself.
You should. It's really interesting.
I've Googled myself some time ago, but
no, ChatGPT. Yeah, Google's crap. You want ChatGPT. So
it was hard research.
It was very difficult. But yeah, that's my assistant, my virtual assistant. But where did it start? Were you originally in like early when you were much younger in hospitality? Because I know there was the stadium stuff.
Yeah. So to be honest, I mean, my best mate's dad ran a conference centre. So I grew up around a kitchen. This is different times. But I remember helping out in a commercial kitchen probably when I was 11 or 12, just because he needed onions peeling, or we were washing up or clearing tables or something like that. And then I got a job in a pub when I was 14, bottling up. From there, became a waiter.
You weren't really 14.
No, I really was 14. I really was. And worked in pubs, restaurants, bars. And then from there, went over to Australia. And that's where, just before I went over to Australia, actually, started to work in stadiums.
Okay.
As within a lot of hospitality, we kind of had a crew of people together that worked. So we worked at various different stadiums. I had, and I've said this before, but 1 week I was in heaven working at Birmingham City. Sorry, hell, working at Birmingham City. So I've taken my Villa hat off. It was working as I came in. So 1 week I was in hell working at Birmingham City, and the next week I was working at Villa. So we worked at various stadiums around the Midlands.
So what were you doing in the stadiums?
At the Villa, I was running some bars in one of the stands.
So more basically the F&B areas.
Yeah, the F&B, but the corporate side of things.
Yeah. Of course, hospitality. Nice.
And then at Birmingham, I used to serve in the director's box.
Oh, sweet.
So I used to wear the full-on three-quarter length penguin suits.
Wow. Silver service?
Silver. Of course, silver service.
That's amazing. You're the third person. I think, I don't remember who it was, but I knew Scott from Orden Hospitality, Scott Turner. He did silver service. Yeah, he still remembers where the forks goes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He always served, and it was interesting. And so from there, I went over to Australia, and because of that, got a job within.
How was that? So was that a choice to go to Australia?
Oh, completely. So I did a degree in. You'll never guess what my degree is. You really won't guess. You really won't. I've got a degree in religious studies and drama.
Okay.
So that was
very dramatic.
Very. It explains quite a lot. But no, I'd always wanted to go to Australia to watch cricket.
Yeah.
That was the thing. I remember from my 9th Christmas, I wanted a radio so I could listen to the Ashes. On long wave.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go to Australia. Long wave.
Stop
sorry, kids, you don't know what that is. I'd always wanted to go over there.
Yeah.
So originally it was to watch the Boxing Day Test match.
Yeah.
And I went over there, got a job at the Grand Prix, which then that was the first.
Again, F&B in the Grand Prix.
F&B, yes. So I used to run boxes.
Yeah. So you took that experience from there and then
completely. It was a way of earning cash.
Whilst
having a very good time. A very good time. And went over there, and then. From there, got a job at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, which I don't know if anybody knows cricket, but there's Lords and there's the MCG. So, but it was working for Aussie rules football matches. So I did about 35, 40 weekends over there working, but also started working in the coffee industry over there because I would argue that Melbourne's one of the greatest cities in the world for coffee.
To be fair, I think Australia is probably, but I mean, compared to here, it's blown up over here, but it's
the quality is different. I was over there in June, and just the quality of the coffee is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So did that, came back, needed a job, so I became a holiday rep.
Okay.
Complete diversion.
Oh, awesome.
Went on to become a holiday rep. I was a holiday rep out in Mallorca for a season. Sorry, I'm putting my hand in front of the microphone.
That's all good.
I was holiday rep. Met my wife. She came out on holiday.
Okay.
She came back with a classic line of "Mum, Dad, I've met someone who's a rep." Didn't go down particularly well. 27 years later, we're still together, so that's great.
That's a great story. Great story for the kids as well.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to that. You're not going to that.
Yeah. And then came back and needed a job. So my brother at the time, my twin brother, was working for a coffee company called Peabody's. They've just actually been sold to, I think, Compass or Sodexo. And they set up Peabody's Coffee, and they needed a till system. and the till company happened to be looking for somebody with some sort of hospitality experience.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into the industry. I basically got a phone call to say, you need to speak to this person. Here's a phone number.
Yeah.
In the days before emails.
Yeah.
Phone them up nervously. Hello, I've been told to give you a call.
Yeah.
Great. Can you come and have an interview?
And who is
yes.
that?
It's going to be called Clarity.
Okay.
Who they're Clarity Commerce Solutions.
Yeah.
So I started off
Was
there.
that like traditional old Windows style pod?
No, this was before pods. This was before Windows.
Okay, this is a bit.
So it was
cash register
firmware.
style.
No, it's firmware.
Okay.
Based.
Okay.
It was really, they had this product called the Smart Pad, which was it was slightly over engineered because the guy that built it used to build bombs for the MOD. So it was very, very over engineered.
Or rugged.
Rugged is a good way of describing it. No, over engineered.
Yeah.
So this was pre-Windows. I remember the first, again, wibbly wobbly time, and we'll start to talk about the future.
Yeah. But this is interesting.
I remember getting the first ever Tech 3100 Windows touchscreens.
Okay.
That came in, and we were selling them out for £3,500 a pop.
Wow.
And people were buying them.
Yeah.
I mean, if I came to you now and said, "Yeah, your screen, your hardware is going to cost you £3,500," you would laugh at me.
Yeah.
So worked for Clarity for a while, for many years.
So the firmware-based pods, and then what like movable or big screen touchscreen?
Both. So it was the firmware-based pods, and then we moved into Windows when Windows 3.1 came out. Before that was DOS. Before it was MS-DOS. So we did that, and then I started off as a trainer installer, then moved into sales.
Okay.
Because I want to see something different. And then I jumped around the industry a little bit. So I worked for a few well-known names.
Yeah.
For longer periods than others. And then went out with a guy that I'd met, and we were selling a PMS system, and I needed a point of sale system.
Yeah. So were you working for a PMS company at that point? Or?
It was actually an accounts package.
Yeah.
A Swedish accounts package that had a PMS module. So we became the resellers of that, and we needed a point of sale to go with it, to integrate with. And I'd met this guy called Tom Bell at some exhibitions, and quite liked this bit of technology that he'd got, and it was easy to configure, and it was reliable. And the most important thing was the fact that I was going to be selling it, installing it, supporting it.
Yeah.
So I needed it to be easy to use and reliable.
Yeah.
So I became a reseller. We became a reseller of this system called Quest, which is where we first met many years ago. Long story short, that didn't work out.
Yeah.
But you learn. I remember there used to be, I don't know if it's still there, in Leon's head office. There's a list of failures of Abraham Lincoln.
And they got a wall, haven't they?
They've got a wall of all of the different failures of Abraham Lincoln. And at the bottom it just says became one of the greatest presidents of America. Something like that. And so what you learn more sometimes from your failures.
Yeah, 100%. You have to learn from mistakes generally, right?
So that didn't work out. So at that point, I found myself with 3 small kids, a 6-week-old daughter, with no job, and that was interesting.
Was that the company that you were working with for reselling, or was that you were reselling?
That was the company that we were reselling. It just didn't happen. It wasn't happening. The product wasn't ready. The PMS product wasn't ready. So we made a decision that it wasn't working. And then I spent 6 months of probably the least worried I've ever been about anything.
Yeah.
Because I had no money.
Yeah.
So you can't worry about it. And with a 6-week-old and two other kids under the age of 4, and I drove vans and I painted walls. I remember it was the year that the World Cup was in Germany, because I can remember painting walls, listening to the opening ceremony from Germany. But I knew that I wanted to work with Tom.
Yeah.
Because I met him, I liked him, I liked the technology.
Infectious, isn't he?
He is. He's just been on the phone from Denver, so he said hello to Adam for the first time in many years earlier on. But Tom said to me, "You're a sales guy, so I'm not interested." So I went off and got Prince 2 qualified. I remember I took a loan from my dad to pay for a crash course.
Yeah.
Did Prince 2 qualification, and phoned Tom up and said, "I'm a project manager. Do you need a project manager?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay, come up, let's have a conversation." And he employed me on a 6-week contract in 2006. And I'm still here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's 6 weeks. The longest 6-week contract I've ever had.
Yeah. Did you ever? Is that still there? 6 weeks, so you can just
technically, yeah. No, definitely not. I have actually got a contract, a full-time contract.
Yeah.
So yes, it was quite interesting. And
so, what was the first role? Was it were you doing
first of all,
project management?
it was anything that needed doing.
Yeah.
There was.
So, how many people in the company at that point?
There would have been. I think there would have been 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So there was Guy. I don't know if you remember Guy.
No,
yes. So it was really a case of if I wasn't doing it and Tom wasn't doing it and the other person wasn't doing it, then we did everything. You had to.
Yeah.
There were,
hands in.
There were 3 or 4 of us.
Nice.
So we started doing that, and we had a lot of success with the Quest product. We were the first web-based POS system for hospitality in the UK. And it was incredibly reliable. We installed QEM the first time probably 18 years ago.
Wow.
And we finally got rid of the final site 2 weeks ago.
Oh, 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, we finally got rid of the
I remember the data
site.
cabling, how it all worked.
Oh, yeah, with daisy chaining and all sorts of things. And there's been a number of sort of iterations.
To be fair, it was pretty solid.
It was.
Yeah.
We had
that was Quest, but that was Radiant?
No, so Quest originally was an Australian company.
Yes.
That was then purchased by Radiant.
Okay, there we go.
And then Radiant were purchased by NCR.
Yes, I remember that.
So we sold.
So what were the firmware, the lower terminals?
The VM256 terminals. The VM256.
The little ones, the low. Yeah,
so
with a battery in them.
Yeah, they were Quest.
Okay.
So we had a number of different versions of the firmware, and it was just bomb-proof. They just carried on.
I can attest to it being bomb-proof. No, even though there's no power, the battery kicked in, and you were still doing stuff.
It was an incredible bit of tech, and again, we took the last touchscreen version out 2 weeks ago.
Wow!
But I actually went to see a local site to us, and they were still using a terminal they'd had for 15 years for their Sunday hot dogs out of a window, and I actually didn't know that it was even still in use. So I walked in and went, "Can we have this for our museum?"
Wow!
So it's still working. So it was pretty special technology. It really was. So we worked with that, and then that's moved on. So obviously with the Radiant acquisition of Quest, and then NCR acquired Radiant. We moved on, and so we were selling Quest until about 2018.
Okay.
And then we had a load of success with an NCR product called NCR Silver.
Yeah. But before Silver, there was the Android NCR devices, but that wasn't Silver.
That wasn't Android. That was still firmware.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was still firmware.
So with the touchscreens.
Yes.
With the all-in-one sort of units, all branded NCR.
Yes. Yeah. They were still. Yeah, they were still Quest firmware.
That's still Quest
firmware.
Had
the Quest firmware chip in the NCR terminals.
Because they were pretty cool.
Oh, I mean,
they were beyond its time.
Oh, completely.
They were like. They weren't. But what was the OS?
It was a proprietary firmware.
Oh, okay.
It was designed purely for point. So it was designed for the stadium market originally.
Because it was rock solid, right?
Yeah. So you could turn it off for 6 months and then turn it back on.
You had USBs in the back. You had network.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
You had everything.
It was really clever.
No one else had that.
No.
I remember the devices like they were in and
they were plug and play.
Yeah.
You basically ship it out.
Yeah.
You turn it on, and we'd already pre-configured it.
Yeah.
So you'd literally plug it into the internet. It would sit, and it would just pop up, and it would already be.
So you basically replaced the low-level firmware versions with that. Basically, is that what happened?
Yes, with the touchscreens. Okay. Yeah.
Nice. And then obviously you transitioned from there to Silver.
Yes.
Which was more iPad-based, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, amazing. So did that all those devices get retired, or if you got like a one, did they get sent to India or something?
No, I don't know what quite happened to them. To be honest, we've still got a few sitting around floating.
Yeah. Good for meeting rooms.
Exactly. Some T1000. So no, we did have an Android terminal.
Yes,
we did have an Android terminal. Sorry, I'm thinking yes. Yeah, no, I'm thinking again. Yes, no, we had
T1000.
Yes, the T1000.
Thanks.
Yes, of course we did. We put hundreds of those in somewhere.
Thank you. Yes, sorry, I know exactly where.
You were right. Yeah, I do too. So we did that.
Yeah.
And then so then we moved up, but all the time when we moved from the original server-based system to we had another web-based POS system.
Just going back a second, sorry, I just want to show we got the timeline. The old school low-level ones, which are like the bomb-proof ones, they were still reporting up to the cloud, right? To the reporting line. They were like, the early doors, because back then lots of Aloha and NCRs and and others, Micros and bits and bobs were still doing that server based.
Yes.
So this thing was still reporting. I mean, we'll talk about Centegra's backend later as we tee into it. But that was still reporting online.
Yes, directly straight in
online.
live. As soon as you hit cash or card on the terminal,
straight through.
It was straight through by terminal, straight into the cloud.
Yeah, and I remember also you had some of them you had the CCTV plugs in, so you had the cameras above, and you had the amounts, which were pretty cool. And then so even as the iteration changed, all that data flowed straight away.
And that's been one of the key points from the start, and we'll come on to that. That's been one of the key points.
Okay. So T1000, then silver.
Then silver.
Yeah. So what did you just basically go, we're going to iPad now, that's through, or did NCR go, hey?
No, we went iPad now. And to be fair, the T1000s have been in for some time.
Yeah.
They weren't new terminals at the time. And that's where...
And you had different credit card connections with that one, right? So you had like Barclaycard or something.
But it was Barclaycard with that. That was sponsored by Stadiums.
Yeah. When you went silver, you were able to get that Amura style PayPal style device.
The NMI gateway.
Yeah. So you had more flexibility, right?
Exactly. Multiple acquirers.
Yeah.
Has always been one of the key things for us, is being agnostic.
Yeah.
On acquirers.
Nice. So then silver iPads, those terminals, and then sort of flowed from there. So because that rolled out quite a bit. You ended up having a lot of spaces using that kit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have to say that the iPads, I was skeptical to start off with, but the iPads have actually become one of the most reliable bits of hardware.
Isn't it weird?
It's a consumer device.
Yeah.
But put it in a nice case. And we've got iPads that have been working for 5 or 6.
I will say a testament that I remember when because you had these bounce pad style cases that were a lot cheaper than bounce pad, and you had these. I remember you putting them in; they were proper lock boxed in. Yeah. And they ended up looking like a proper till, like a big till.
Yeah.
So I will testament to you on that one.
And they're still working.
Yeah.
They're still working.
Yeah.
And if you've lost the key, you've got
no chance. I have broken. I remember breaking into a few. Try not to destroy the iPad. They get into it. So I remember that, and they're pretty stolen proof as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're big, heavy bases.
Yeah.
Big, heavy bases.
Okay. So rolled out the iPad, and then so. You had was Leon early on?
Oh yeah, Leon from the first site on Great Portland Street. Yeah, from Carnaby Street. Wow. They opened up. I was working for Fourth Hospitality at the time, and I remember them opening up. And I remember seeing Henry Dimbleby and John Vincent behind the counter. Yeah. And at the same time, they'd met Tom at an exhibition.
Yeah.
And they'd got some tills that are just out the back that when they took over the site. And they worked with them for a week or so, and it didn't quite work out. So they phoned up Tom and said, "We need some tills."
Oh,
so Tom put those in there, and we've been working since not quite from dawn of day one, but about 2 weeks after their first day.
That's awesome. I mean, to be fair, but going back to the show now, what you put on the market on there, the trusted provider. Yes. How many years is it now?
With Leon, it's 21. Whenever, however long they've been going, it's 21, 20, somewhere between over 20 years.
Yeah, and we met at Chilango.
Yes.
So when that started,
with Bobby Time.
Yeah, which was it was interesting because we went through different variations. I think they left you for a bit, and then they came calling.
And then they came back. And literally, it was on the day that the 3-year contract from the people that we didn't have a stock system at the time. So they moved to a different supplier because of the stock system.
Oh, okay.
And I remember getting a phone call from their purchasing manager about a year before, and he said, "Have you got stock now?" And I went, "Yes, I have." He went, "We need to see you." And we went back in, and I think we might have even reused some of the kit that they got in the storeroom. But it's literally on the 3rd anniversary of the point where their contract ended, we put our kit back in.
Yeah, and things got a bit more stable.
Yes.
To be fair. In memory.
Yes. So I'm not going to say who they put it in.
No, we don't need to. Yeah. It's all good. It's very interesting actually thinking about, because you guys are always very open. So it's not about, other sometimes when people leave and so on, I think the main purpose of hospitality is always being open, right? So if someone does leave you and come back, there's always that open arms. We're here. Exactly. Like when they leave, whenever you're ready, come back.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing, nice thing about hospitality. Yeah. So we went. So with Chilango, they came back. Yeah. And then they grew with you with that one, which is pretty cool. And then was it because I remember Line 10? Remember Line 10?
Oh yeah.
Right. So I spoke to a client this week who mentioned Line 10. I didn't know they were still around, but they are still around, and they do enterprise, like ordering and order at table and stuff.
Okay.
So because I remember the boxes.
Yes.
And then you guys used to work with them.
Yes.
And a story, I don't know if you remember this, but Line 10 used to have a printer that was exposed to the internet. I think. Oh no, it was another. Maybe then on another provider. And Chilango all of a sudden got all their print, I think it was 15, 20 order printers. Some guy online had spewed a command down to the printers that printed a guy dancing.
Yes.
And it said, lock your ports down, which was very nice of him. But yeah, so we started to talk about, that was like the first iteration of like collecting and stuff like that. So we can tee into the integration piece as well. Oh, and we probably need to talk about where that data went. Because now we're down further the line. That data's always gone online. Yes. And I remember meeting Tom probably about 10 years ago, and he whipped out Excel.
Yep.
He goes, I'm just going to connect to the cube.
Yes.
And I was like, what the hell is the cube? He goes, so he just literally pressed the button. Excel did a tiddly diddly biddly thing. And then all of a sudden he's like, so this is, I think it was probably Leon. This is Leon. This is, and it literally, he was drilling down the best server, like stuff that you would easily get nowadays. Yes. But this is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was sitting, I think my mouth had to be picked up from the floor. He was like, this is the best server in the best in that location. This is the amount of chicken burgers that they've sold. And he literally just did 3 clicks.
Yes.
So I'd love to talk about that data side, because that's an interesting point. Because moving forward, even if they're not using silver, people are still using the cloud. What is called the cloud now, which is really interesting.
One of the really interesting things is when we moved from one system to another, because we're on to our 5th generation now of cloud-based pods. We needed a way of combining all that data together, because otherwise it's when we're moving clients from one to another, there has to be a compelling reason. Yeah. First of all, it's got to be price, or functionality, or reliability, or we're just going to retire the product because there's something for various reasons. So it actually came in about 15 years ago. We were moving from system A to system B, and we needed a way of keeping that data in one place. So we built a data warehouse where we took an input from both points of sale systems to show the client how many coffees and how many muffins they'd sold, no matter where that data had come from. And that's where the cube was built. It was a way of building above more than one system, and consolidating that data above multiple systems. We still have people using exactly the same system now because it works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
We still deliver it within pivot tables. Obviously, we've moved on for the operational side of things for reporting.
So was that also a piece of, because sorry, I'm just remembering bits in my mind. So the other piece that I remember as well is your stock. Because you mentioned you started the stock piece, but you ended up doing that a lot for production kitchens and stuff like that.
Yes. Yep.
So because I remember Chilango talking about it, I remember other clients talking about it, and the challenge was back then there wasn't really anything for that. No. So where do you get the stock platform for? How does it all talk? So did that platform also talk to the cube?
Yes. So there's sales. If we've got the sales, we can do things with it. That's the way we talk about it. If we've got the data, we can do things with it.
Yeah.
And we can feed it in and in various different ways. So the cube was built in order to consolidate lots of data together. And then
that transitioned to Centegra Plus, I guess.
That became Centegra Plus. Exactly. Yes, exactly. First of all, we got it into the cube, then we moved it into Centegra Plus, so you could report from a site manager basis across multiple sites. And then we built the stock. And then we had a client come to us and say, we're doing all of our cash ups within spreadsheets. Can you write something? Well, yes, of course we can. So, and that's really how Centegra Plus has been built. It's always, we don't build stuff because we think it's what people want. We'll sit down and talk to people and say, what do you want? How is this? So the latest thing that we sort of launched is we've completely revamped our dashboarding. So it's now completely configurable, scalable, lots of different flexibility. You can build a custom built a dashboard and send it out whenever you want to. And for that, we sat down with users and said, okay, we think we know what we want, but actually, what do you want?
Yeah.
And it sounds a cliche, but unless you're doing that, then there's...
Well, you have it's not a luxury, but you have the flexibility of the customers that you have with the breadth of time you've had.
Yes.
So you can do that. I think some newer companies struggle because it gets or it's America that pushes it to here, or it's Europe that pushes it to here. So I think there's challenges there with that. So I think you become agnostic or POS eventually because you're feeding so much data in.
To an extent, yes. Yeah. We talk about the enterprise platform, but the thing that we're really talking about now is a single pane of glass with a single point of truth.
I like that.
And a single point of contact.
Yeah.
Somewhere you've got to have someone that runs everything or centralizes everything in one key place. And that's really what we're focusing on. Obviously, we have a great point of sale. We have lots of other sources. We have kiosks. We have click and collect. We have all of these products, but also we're not daft enough to know that there are incumbents in places.
Yeah.
So we will take feeds from pretty much anybody. We'll work with people. I was with someone this morning when we were talking about doing some things. A new potential partner. Ultimately, it's got to be client driven.
Yeah.
I know one of the questions that you've asked me is it a single solution or multiple?
And
the simple answer is it depends on the customer.
Yeah, tech stack or single solution.
It depends on the customer.
Yeah.
If you're a smaller group, then probably a tech stack. If you're a smaller group, a single solution.
Yeah.
But if you're a multiple operator, you need to start to grow and you need to specialize.
It's interesting the conversation I have with people, because some people go have a look at Lightspeed, for example, as a POS, and it's a single. It can be like when you're for super small, but you can plug stuff into it. And there's other platforms out there as well, other iPad-based platforms that just do the POS that have other bits and bobs, which is okay, and then you plug everything else into it. So I feel that. Like, it's weird because sometimes you say that the smaller brands, it's good to have like the single solution, and like, if you've got SumUp, for example, or something really basic, it doesn't really do everything else you need it to do. So I think you always end up plugging in stuff to it.
Exactly. And that's one of the key things, is that you've hit the nail on the head there. And one of the things that we try and differentiate ourselves, and the way we differentiate ourselves is we are not POS centric. We don't build everything around the point of sale.
Yeah.
We have a great point of sale system that's been built to scale, and we'll talk about that in a bit when we talk about the future. But also, if you come to us with 100 sites and you've got a mix and match of estate, we've got one client over in the US. I'm not allowed to say who it is. I will get shot if I say who it is. But they've got a whole load of sites with a whole load of different point of sale systems. Yeah. And they want all of their managers to see one report as a single point of truth.
Yeah. Well, I think the challenge in the US as well is the franchise side. Unless you're really controlled on it, you've got 1,000 locations with 50 different POS, right?
But it's not only that, the scale of it. So if you talk about replacing point of sale, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of units. The scale is obviously...
And also who pays for it, right?
Exactly.
So I spoke to famous brands in South Africa, and they've got loads of brands, and they own like a nice amount of stores. And he was like, we use an iPad-based POS. And he goes, try telling a mum and pop store that they have to go iPads. They're just not no. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's one of the key things that we do, is it's about the single point of truth. So we deliver for this client I'm talking about, we deliver one report.
Nice.
So no matter what the point of sale
it's a data feed, right? So theoretically, you're ingesting feeds from everywhere. Yes. So if you're able to ingest another feed, it's just allocating to the right place.
And if we can get the data in the correct format, people can do. We've had some people turn it around within a week.
Yeah.
It's not a specifically complex format that we asked for.
Yeah.
We can deal with everything else. So we had some situations, especially over COVID. I don't really like talking about COVID because we're now post-COVID. But there was a gold rush for apps. During COVID. And 6 months after the gold rush started, people started to look and say, well, actually, this doesn't work for me, or actually, there's a better offering, or I'm being ripped off on the card rates.
Yeah.
So actually, we had a lot of customers who started off with one system, moved to another, but actually, from an operational point of view, made no difference whatsoever, because we just plug that from that, and we turn it on, turn it off, or they stop taking orders on one platform and start taking orders on another.
Because I think you were quite early doing the integration as well with like Deliveroo and that sort of stuff.
Definitely.
I think you were super early. I mean, I remember with Chilango specifically, but you were definitely early with that.
Well, because we'd already built the platform to ingest sales from multiple sources and consolidate.
Yeah.
I'd love to say that we were forward thinking, and 15 years ago we could see the fact. No, of course we couldn't. No one could see it at the time. But we'd already got the structure.
You had that structure to feed
in place, so it was about adapting that rather than building from scratch. And the other thing is, because we were built from the cloud, that again changes it. We're not talking about dialing into a server to bring data back,
which still happens now.
I know. The infrastructure was there already, technically.
I think it's no offense, but it's a bit like a lucky, like which route we.
No, it's foresight. It's foresight and planning.
It's really
it's foresight and planning.
But 15 years and years ago, like it's just which route do we? It's like you're at a crossroad, and like not lucky as such, but you're at a crossroad of like, do we go that way or that way? And the direction to the cloud is,
it's interesting you say that, but actually we've got in our office, Tom, our CEO, is currently working over in Denver and will be for the foreseeable, which we'll come on to in a bit. Yeah. But in his office, he has a printout of the first ever print at home cinema ticket. for Disney
Oh,
cinemas.
really?
Yeah. Because he was working in the cloud during the the first .com boom.
Yeah.
And he took a ticketing company over to the US.
Yeah.
That was bought up by another company. .com bubble happened. It went pop, and
Yeah.
that's why he came back. And that's why. But he was working in the cinema market. So
that was that flicker
he'd
idea.
already knew that we were looking for cloud. So as soon as we were offered something that was potentially cloud, we knew that was the way we wanted to go.
But realistically, sorry, I'm going to go back because back then there wasn't really no cloud. It was your cloud.
It was our cloud in our servers. And we used to go out with a piece of paper that said, "This is cloud-based. Oh, by the way, this is what the cloud is," because no one understood what the cloud was.
Yeah, correct.
Yes, we'll look after your data. That was a big issue to start up with trust. We'll look after your data. Actually, we are more secure than that PC that you spent 600 quid on.
Yeah, and that backup USB in the back that might break your stuff. So, okay, I'm going to go. Sorry, I'm going to go. This is really interesting. One of the questions was about like changes in the industry, which is quite interesting in your perspective, because you've seen a lot change. It'd be really interesting to understand, like, to see your how you see things have changed. The technology over just even the last couple of years has changed.
But phenomenally.
You've got like more than two and a bit decades of.
Thank you for reminding me.
Well, I've been doing it for 2 decades as well, so we're okay. It's all good. We're in the same family. But it's interesting to see how you see things change, and then we can tip into some other stuff.
I mean, the big change was COVID, actually. In the fact that everything changed at that point. I think that probably sped up the adoption of delivery and mobile apps.
And TikTok for my kids. Thanks.
I was near their offices today with loads of people with TikTok on. I think that probably sped up that change faster than it would have done anyway. I remember, and I'm quite happy to eat my words, I wrote an article on LinkedIn during COVID saying, I don't know if people will adopt kiosks, because at the time there was the issue with touching.
I was there, and someone sneezed on the kiosk right in front of me. I walked out.
Exactly. So, but I think that's definitely a big change. And the big thing is the fact that the industry has gone from transactional to experiential. It's all about the experience. It's all about. I'm not going to say who it is, but I went into a place recently, and their kiosk was appalling. It's not hospitality. I got told off by my wife for talking to the manager and saying your kiosk is rubbish. But it's got to be a good experience, no matter whether it's you're going up to a counter, or whether you're going up to a kiosk, or one of the other many different ways. It's got to be a good experience.
And easy, right?
Exactly, frictionless. We talk a lot about talk about experiential. And you can see we talk a lot about friction on my notes. So it's got to be frictionless. It's got to be experiential. It's got to be easy. One of the things that I talk about, and I know you came along to it, but I did a talk at the Hospitality Tech Show, and we're talking about the fact that everything's got to be user centric. And everyone thinks a user is the person that comes up and places the kiosk. It's not just the user that places the order at the kiosk or on an app. It's actually the member of staff behind. They need to be able to pick stuff up quickly and easily. The manager on site needs to know that it's going to work and not cause issues, so they can get on with the rest of their job. Head office have got a different thing. They're looking at data, and they don't want to hear from the manager that something's going wrong. So it's about lots of different areas, and you've got to focus on all of those. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's become an experience. And we're dealing a lot with that. One of the things that we're spending a lot of time with, and I'm jumping on ahead here because we're going to come on to it anyway.
That's all good.
But as part of what's been happening with this on a corporate level, we're now working with a company, and I'm learning lots from them, looking at a slightly a different vertical, which is the attractions and theme parks.
You said. Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit because we're going to into that in a second. So it's been quiet with Centegra. I have tears in my eye because we've been talking, actually, to be fair. There has been some, you've still been, you're still getting there, but visibility prior to that change that happened, it's gone quiet. And obviously, things, when investment happens, there's always that little bit. Talk to us about that. So we can talk about it as well.
So just over a year ago, we were a majority stake we were acquired. Majority stake was taken by a company called SSA Ventures. And SSA Ventures is the venture arm of a company called the SSA Group. I'm getting this properly, I'm getting this in the right order. And the SSA group deal with F&B, merchandising, ticketing for a whole load of zoos, attractions in the USA.
Hence why I saw you at one of the big shows.
Exactly.
Not saw you, sorry.
Yes,
I saw a post.
on the post,
Yeah.
So that's really their thing.
And that's massive. I didn't realize how
Oh,
big
it's enormous. It's enormous. So they've been going for 50 years, I think, next year. And they're a really interesting company. They approached us after we'd been actually supplying them for some time. They had the situation we were talking about earlier on, about the fact that they have two different point of sale systems. One of them was NCR Silver that we had the integration with.
And I think one of the only people that had integration.
That's why we were introduced to them. And their problem was the fact they had a number of different point of sale systems, and they needed a way of bringing all this data together.
Okay.
So we were introduced to them probably 3 or 4 years previously, and we had some conversations, and we started supplying and bringing data in with them and consolidating data, and we wrote an integration to the other point of sale system that they use. And then they approached us. It's got to be 2 years ago, because these things take time. To say, would we be interested? And we'd been approached a number of times, but we're always Tom, the CEO, was always key about the fact that he didn't want to take VC investment.
Yeah, and I guess for you guys, you have a really good relationship with your customers.
Exactly.
So keeping that is important.
But it was about seeing the value in the product that we built. We spent a lot of money on the Centegra Plus product. We've invested a lot of money in the Centegra Plus product. And part of what SSA Ventures, the ventures arm of SSA Group, is they want to take technology and use technology to make the experience better for the user. And that's where we talk about the fact that it's got to be frictionless. So they're building a group of companies specifically to take to their user base, their own user base, but also now we're now part of we rebranded a couple of months ago as Centegra, a Syncio Solutions partner. So in the USA, we're selling our solutions under the name of Syncio. It's a company.
Interesting. Okay, so that's the name over there.
Yes.
Is it that's a known brand over there?
It's a relatively new brand, but the Cinch, everything is done in a Cinch. It's an American phrase.
Oh yes, of course.
So that's why it's Syncio Solutions, and they've built for their own markets. They built a kiosk. So it's building the ability to build a kiosk with point of sale in the back office and inventory, and we were a part of that. But the SSA Group are a really interesting company in the fact that there's a phrase of everything is done on a handshake. So it started 50 years ago. With the founder he started working at the Denver Mile High, doing the F&B at the Mile High. And they have a thing that it's done on a handshake. So that deal was done on a handshake. You can't do that anymore.
No.
But that's still a key part of it. It's a family-run company that turns over. Still a family-run company that turns over, I think it was $500 million last year. And the handshake thing is really important. So Tom spent a lot of time talking to them, and he knew that at the point where Sean McNicholas, the CEO, shook his hand and said, "Let's get this done." Everybody else went, "Okay, we've got to get this done."
They're watching.
Exactly. So it's really interesting. So that's opened up. It's opening up new markets for us. It's giving us.
So it's not just US though, right? Or is it?
Pardon?
Is it not just US? Are they elsewhere as well?
Predominantly US at the moment, and we're looking at South America as well. And they're taking that. So we're rolling our solutions out into the SSA Group as is the obvious thing to do. But also we're starting to win some really nice clients over there. Because
but the interesting thing about America is that, as
you
said,
they're behind on technology.
Well, weirdly enough, I had one of the guys who does installs for another POS company in the US over here, and he said to me, "You guys are backwards. You're backwards. It's just, the technology is just backwards," because he'd just come from a Windows POS site, and he had lunch there, and he was like, "You're backwards." And I was like, "Excuse me?"
Really?
I said, "You guys don't even do WhatsApp right now. Contactless payment. Come on. I'm not dissing America, because some of the technology in there is ridiculous, but POS technology." And he was like, I was like, "What do you mean? No, clarify what you mean." He goes, "You still have Windows POS." That's what he meant. He didn't mean anything else. And he goes, "We have tablets and everything. We don't. There's legacy. There's not. It's hard anywhere." And then we talked about the technology and contactless and everything else. And he was like, Yeah, I get what you mean. We are a bit backwards. It's
so
really interesting.
I know there's going to be Americans listening. You're not backwards at all. You're lovely people.
No, they're challenged with technology because it's what's available, right, as well.
Exactly. So they're starting to do some interesting things over there. But as part of the SSA Ventures, they also have investments in a really interesting company called Attractions.io.
Okay.
And they supply the app for Merlin Entertainment. So if you go to Alton Towers or Legoland,
so they own that. They acquired it. That company.
No, there's an insignificant investment.
Okay, nice.
In there. So we're starting to look at other markets. So we've just in our.
So are you going to pull out data from that and actually?
Yeah, of course we are.
Oh,
of course we are. We're working with them on various things, but also we're helping them with some projects. We've got one of the I can't say who it is because it hasn't gone in yet.
Yeah.
But early next year we'll be putting a joint system in at a large zoo.
Yeah.
And to start off with, we're doing KMS. Yeah. Because that's a problem that they had.
Yeah.
So we're going to start
pushing our menu. You are a bit like proper. I mean, your KDS has been.
Oh, it's great. It's really, we haven't even touched on it yet. But it's really, really good.
Yeah.
And again,
has Leon still got it as the coffee? That KDS.
Everything. Yeah. All the Leon KDS.
Yeah.
Coco Mama's still.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because it's the little device, isn't it? And you've got the device in the back, so it's a touch screen.
Yeah.
And the device in the back. They're rock solid.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they're really good.
Yeah.
So it's interesting looking at different markets and different verticals. Hospitality will always be our core.
Yeah.
But I had the fun of going. And it was fun. It was a lot of hard work, but it was also some fun to go. I went out to an exhibition called IAPA.
Yeah.
And out in Florida, and there's 1,100 exhibitors out there.
I mean,
it's the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions. Before you ask, because you will do. And there's 1,100. There's 9 miles of aisle.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, how long was the?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It's like 19 football pitches or something.
I was told it will blow your mind. And I've been to the European version in September, and that was big. But literally, if you want to buy a roller coaster, you can buy a roller coaster.
No.
And within the hall, they have amusement rides, and there's a whole section on bouncy castles.
Yeah.
And I was there for 5 days.
How many steps?
Lots. I mean, lots and lots and lots. And on the 5th day, I went out of a different exit because I had to go to the bag check.
Yeah.
To pick up the bags to come home, and I hit a whole area that I hadn't seen in 5 days. It's enormous.
Massive,
it's enormous.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting for the future. That's one of the things that we're looking at, because the technology
is it different technology there on that piece?
I think it's fair to say everything's built around ticketing, because the majority of revenue comes from ticketing.
Yeah.
And so everything is built around ticketing. And some of the POS is okay.
Yeah.
Some of the POS is not okay.
Yeah.
I've seen some of it, and it was
basically going to make the path to entry easier for order at F&B in that
exactly.
Area. So
exactly. So to move what we've got from hospitality to
apply
the industry. Exactly.
You can apply it to any industry that has a bit of F&B.
Exactly.
In it, right?
And we're not naive to know that we are going to be relative new entrants into that marketplace.
Yeah.
But
to be fair,
we've got a lot of experience.
But the background is steeped in history, so
exactly. But it's also because we're working with. We've got great. There are different tweaks that people need. There's different things, but we've got the SSA group to talk to us about that.
Nice.
We've got.
So Tom's out there leading that
Tom
side
moved
of the business?
out there. Tom moved out in, I think it was October.
Yeah.
So he's running. He's now MD of Cincio and Centegra. So he's running.
Nice.
He's moved over there. Certainly for the immediate term. We still speak to each other on a regular basis.
I saw him in his nice office.
In his nice new office.
Was that in his office or work from home?
No, that's his office.
Oh, nice.
So he's based in Denver.
Yeah.
So he's running Cincio in the US.
Amazing.
Using his experience.
Did you go out to US a bit as well? You in America?
No, this is the first time I've ever been to the US.
Because he's been out there quite a bit, right?
He used to live out there.
Yeah.
He took a ticketing company out there, so he understands.
Because he did the stadium stuff out there as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, that came about some time ago. So he's lived out there before. Okay. So he likes it out there.
Yeah.
So he's out there having some challenges.
Yeah.
Because everything's it's a new market.
Yeah, of course.
But no, I think
he's basically building a team out there.
Well, there was already a team in place.
Amazing.
There was already a team in place.
So he's leading that.
So he's leading that and using his 25 years of leading a POS company,
nice.
A hospitality technology company.
I'm going to just touch on very quickly the new POS.
Yes.
Where did that? I mean, I just saw it at the show. I was like, "Oh!" I mean, I hadn't seen it. So Silver's gone.
Silver's going.
Yeah.
Silver's going. It's still working, but
Yeah,
it's
of course.
silver's going. So we're now our new POS comes from Australia again. There's a theme here.
Yeah.
Comes from Australia again, and it's from a similar group of people that may have brought us our previous point of sale.
Oh, interesting.
So it's
It's nice to have a black book, isn't it?
well, it was interesting. I was on
These
LinkedIn,
are-
and suddenly I saw lots of people that I had on LinkedIn
Yeah.
that I knew from previous iterations going, I've joined this company, I've joined this company, I've joined this company.
Interesting. So that sparked a little bit of interest.
So we had a conversation with them, and they were honest and said,
Yeah.
this was 3-4 years ago, and they said, we're not ready. We're
Yeah.
not ready. This is new things. They're now in a situation where they've recently installed, their focus is US stadiums. US and Australian
Well, to be fair,
stadiums.
if it's what you're saying, it is
Yes.
built. It's built for that.
Yeah. So
The technology was built. For,
it's incredible. So they do their first big win, I think, was the Miami Dolphins. So they did the Dolphin Stadium.
Wow.
They've just done. I can't remember which one it is.
I don't remember if Tom told me the story, but there was a story where you guys put you lost a deal with a stadium. They put another POS in, and then it turned on. They turned it on and everything just died.
It was, yeah.
I don't remember what stadium that was, but I remember that they called you urgently. You guys urgently, and were like, "We can you come and install tomorrow because we've got 50 and it just worked."
Yeah, I can't say who it is. But yeah, I think I know who you're talking about, but I'm going to be slightly cagey about who it was. Yeah, we had a conversation with one stadium in the UK, a Premier League stadium in the UK, and they love the technology. But at the time, the question was, how many employees have you got? And Tom said 3, and said, we can't risk this. And then I remember sitting in their IT director's office about 3 years later, and they just literally phoned us up and said, "Can you come in?"
Yeah.
And we sat there, and I said, "Tom, why are we here?" He said, "I don't know. I really don't know." They sat down and said, "How many people work for you?" And we said, 15. Went, "Great, give us a quote." And 6 weeks later, we installed 200 points of sale in the Premier League stadium.
Yeah.
And yes.
And it just stayed, and it worked, and it rocked. Yeah.
Exactly. So that.
Sorry,
that
I had to tease that because I remember a story I remembered.
So we've got that. We've got that in a load of sites.
Nice.
That's going into other sites.
So they basically built it to be rock solid.
Oh, it's absolutely. Yeah. It's completely built.
And they're reporting back to you guys still, right?
Completely, yes. So that's the first integration. But the really interesting thing about that is the fact that it's iOS, it's Android.
Oh, it's Omni
and Windows. Windows comes next year.
Oh, okay. So taking over is pretty easy.
Yeah, So it's an app.
Yeah,
it's an app.
Nice.
So, and also we can do mixed estate.
Yeah.
So if you've got a Windows terminal and an iPad, you can have mixed because it's cloud based.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have the same operating system.
Yeah,
on the same site.
Big difference, especially for taking over, and then the possibility of them going, "Oh, we don't want to spend all this money on hardware," and and it's quite light, I guess. I'm assuming that the
completely.
app, right?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So we're doing a whole load of work with that early next year with clients, moving people over. There's
so the transition is going to be here is moving.
We've already done a load of sites.
Amazing. As you said, if you've got Android or iOS, and most NCL servers are iOS anyway.
It's all
so the
iOS.
switchover is pretty seamless.
Yes.
Nice.
So we've got that coming up. So that's going to keep us busy in the first couple of months of next year.
Nice.
So we've been working with them for 18 months, something like that. Obviously,
and they're pretty open, right? So integration wise.
Oh, completely. And we speak to them. It's about communication. It's something I'm guessing we're going to talk about as well. Everything's about communication, relationships.
Yeah.
And we have a great relationship with them. I know that if I pick up the phone, they'll pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And that's key as far as we're concerned.
So I'm going to tee on to the support piece because you did talk about it in your and I know you talked about it a little bit earlier, but I want to tee into that single pane of glass as well, which was a really good point. But I'd like for you to share really how that works because I can attest to utilizing support and it being excellent and. Very much. We talked to other brands about customer obsessed, and that support piece. It'd just be awesome if you could share some of that because I think it's really important in hospitality. There's challenges the whole time. We speak to, as you know, of the IT side. We speak to POS companies the whole time. We try and be that bridge. Never really need to do that with you guys because it's always been. But wanted to share.
Well, it comes down to the fact that. My background is 5-star service when I used to wear the tails, and so sometimes you just have to get on with it.
Yeah.
And Tom's philosophy is, okay, let's sort it. That's the thing. And we talk about slicing and dicing all of the time. Let's have a look at a problem. If we've got a problem, let's cut it in half. Is it here? Is it here? Well, it's here. So therefore, let's move on to here, and we slice and dice, and we slice and dice. And you have to work methodically. The most important thing is the fact that you're open and honest.
Yeah.
And if something isn't going right, fess up to it. Be open and honest. Don't try and hide it. One of the things that I talk about, I'm now in the office. They'll laugh if they hear this, but I get rolled out now for inductions. I don't do the inductions. I get rolled out for an hour. Yeah. Here's the bit with John. And the most important thing that I talk about there is if you make a mistake, be honest about it, because we would much rather take the flak for 30 seconds because we've got something wrong, because it builds the trust in the long run.
But also you help them learn from it as well.
Exactly.
And everyone learns from it.
And if you try and hide it, it's only going to get worse. So if you say, help, I need some help, then people in the office will do that. And that's one of the biggest challenges as we've grown. We've recruited people on lots of different ways. We've recruited people on their CV. We've recruited people on skills. When it comes down to actually the most successful hires we've ever had, and we've got a very high staff retention.
Yes, you do. I can attest to that as well.
Is we go on gut feel. Do we like the person? Can we work with them? Ultimately, everything that we need to get people to do, we need to train them on. There's no way that you can come in unless you've used Centegra systems. You won't know how to do stuff. You might know how to set up a network. You might know how to. If you've got this, those are the kind of skills we're looking at. Have you got the kind of brain that can analyze? But apart from that, everything has to be trained. So, do we like the people? That's the really key thing. But it's one of the biggest challenges as we've grown of having that. It was only a couple of years ago that myself and Tom took our phone numbers off the front of the website. And the reason we took it off the website is the fact that we're just getting so many spam calls. But if it doesn't take long, you can still find my number if you want to. You can certainly find my email address. And all of our customers know that they can, if they want to, they can phone me, and we have an escalation process. Obviously, I try not to get involved in the day-to-day stuff now because I don't know the answers. I used to know everything. I used to know all of the answers.
I used to call you,
but I don't know anymore. The systems have become so vast and so detailed and so complex that nobody can know everything. Everybody has to have their own sort of special area. Everybody has to have a good grounding to answer level 1 support calls. But after that, people help out. We have Slack chats. We have various different group chats that people will help out.
I think that's a really important piece. Even if it's a junior taking it, as long as there's people around them for them to learn as well, to tee in, then the next time they'll remember.
And the first time, so the first time that someone's on support, it's nerve wracking. If they're on emergency support, it's nerve wracking. So we make sure that they know.
To be honest with you, not that many post companies have emergency support, so they
really.
You know, there are some that just don't.
Really?
Answer. Still, there's some out there that just that don't have. Or you call it and you might not get a response.
If you call us at 3 o'clock in the morning, you might not get an immediate response. But someone will be there. It might be that they're waking up and listening to the answer phone. But also, it's about having systems. First of all, talking to customers, say, okay, then if you phone us at 3 o'clock in the morning, I can't tell you the last time we got phoned at 3 o'clock in the morning. It just doesn't happen.
Those nightclubs aren't there anymore. That's all right.
I remember a few nightclubs that we worked on. Yes, never again. Especially some in Mayfair. They were interesting. You know which ones I'm talking about.
Yes.
But no, it's about having systems that actually work during trading, and we're very clear about the fact that Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 is anything. Call us about anything. Outside of that is it affecting your ability to trade?
Can you trade or not?
Can you trade? If it's a cash up that I've done wrong, we will say, can you phone us back at 9 o'clock in the morning? That's not going to stop you from trading. But if your kitchen printer is down, then that is going to stop you trading.
But you've also got the central point where people can communicate, right? So it's not just phone, email. I remember when you talked in your talk, it was all about trying to filter that communication in. Right?
Well, it's about filtering, but also having really good help files. I mean, how many people look at the help files first? I think we probably send them out as we link to them a lot with our support department, because it's actually the quickest way of doing things. To say, okay, this is what you want to do. Have a look at our help file here, and we'll send a link out. Specifically to that, because it will have been thought about how it's set out and how it's so that it's nice and easy to use in the flow. But yeah, so I mean, people can call us, they can email us, they can WhatsApp us. WhatsApp's really interesting.
That's what I wanted you to. I was waiting for that.
Yeah. We introduced it, and it's one of those things that I think it's probably about 10 to 15% of our tickets come in via WhatsApp.
Yeah. It's a massive game changer.
But it makes a difference. It's about making it easy for the manager, because the manager's got a phone in their pockets. And if they can just text us when we say, send me a photo. Send us a photo. Rather than having to take a photo, go into an email, attach
say
it.
No, they can't do it.
Exactly. Whereas you just send us a photo. So that's really good.
We did it about 3 years ago now. We plugged in WhatsApp. Yes. It's been a game,
and it's good for the people that use it. It's absolutely key, and it makes it's about it's going back to being frictionless. And being able to go, I've got a problem. Here's a photo. Go.
Fix it.
That's really good.
Awesome.
So it's that, and it's about listening. So we would. I'm going to say this because it shows that I do actually listen to our head of ops support or head of ops support lead gets the stats for us on a weekly basis, and when we hit anything below 97% of SLA responses being hit, then we're going, what's going wrong? I mean, we are talking literally. People get a response generally between 98 and 99% of the time within SLA. Which is you can't. You're never going to 100. No. And anyone who says 100, if someone came to me and said we've got hit at 100%, I'm going to say I don't believe.
I called you last week, it didn't work. No, you're right. I agree. We're the same in that respect. Even if we're busy, it flows over to another party. They answer it and then transfer it back to us. So we still we'll always get that phone call. So I think
we've even had people come phone us up and say, "Can you please be first line for a third party?" Because one of the things that we'll do is if someone phones and says we have a problem with X, Y, and Z, we'll go in and have a look and track that.
Well, you can see the metrics
we can see whether it's come
on.
through, and it has this come through. Actually, no, we're not. Okay, please speak to the third party. But when you speak to the third party, tell them that you've spoken to us, and we have checked this, this, and this. Because it's about getting a resolution, even if it's not our system. It's about getting a resolution.
You're trying to help. Trying to push it through. That's really important. I think one piece that I will say over the years, it's the same people you speak to, which is nice. So you end up calling and having that relationship as well, rather than having 15 different people or going to Manila or something like that, whatever, or Eastern Europe. You don't have that. You have that really nice person. So when you're calling, you remember the person, and also the help is there, rather than I'll go back to you, or I need to ask someone else. Even if I need to ask someone else, they'll be with you through that process. So I have to give you props for that. That piece of support over how I've seen it, it's awesome. So customer obsessed is something you should probably add to the website. So because lots of other, we're speaking like Tenzo, but also they're the same. Lots of other brands we work with are similar. Okay. We're going to go further on to be fair, we've talked a bit about tech stacks, to be fair, so I don't think we need to tee into that. Otherwise, we'll be here for another hour talking about fragmented tech stacks.
I've got all day. I've got to get a train in a bit.
So I think it'd be good to touch on, unless you want to talk about that, but I mean, good to touch on the future of what's coming.
What's coming?
Because I can mention the word mashkin. That was below my mind.
So that's something that we I saw this bit of tech about 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
It was about 3 years ago, I saw it on a video and I thought, this is really interesting. And then about 12 months after that, someone that had been a supplier for some time sent me an email shot to say, we've become the EMI master distributor of this kit. We're showing it at an exhibition next week. And I just got in a car. Literally to go and see. So Mashgin, have a look at it. It's called Mashgin, mashgin.com. And it's self-service automated checkout.
I might actually put in a little snippet of the video we did. That's crazy.
And it is crazily fast, crazily easy to use.
And live.
I can talk about it, but actually playing with it is the way to do it. And we had it at the Hospitality Tech Show. We put it on the front because that's the bit that
I've never seen so many people there was people queuing to use it.
You've got to play with it, and it's really it's got very specific uses, and those specific uses are grab and go, convenience, and stadiums. But it's clever in the fact it has 9 cameras, and you put your articles in a space, and instantly it recognises what those articles are. And you tap and go. You don't even have to say, I'm ready to pay.
So I saw it on the kiosk on the right. As you took the fake banana out, It disappeared off of the thing, and then the freaking credit card machine changed the amount of
money.
Really
clever. It
there was
is so fast.
There was no button to pay.
No, it is literally place,
just
tap.
Mental.
It is so fast.
Yeah.
So I could say something trite like post kiosk, but it has its a specific area. So, but it can also, it's clever enough to understand the fact that I have a pint of lager and I have a pint of cider, and it can tell the difference between the colour between the lager and the cider.
So training on it.
So you train it. So you take various images, but it also can recognise the fact that a pint of lager may look slightly different because there's a different type of head on it or something like that.
Okay.
So you take a series of
sort
images.
Of computer vision, I guess.
It's AI. It is proper AI in the cloud working through stuff. And you put it in various different positions within these cameras, and it will take different views and different shots, and it'll accept it.
But also, I think I put in we put something else inside it, and it knew it wasn't.
Yeah, it knows
invalid,
that. Yes,
which is pretty clever.
Yes. But if you put your hand there, it will actually say, "Please move your hand." It recognises what a hand is. So we tried that.
Yeah,
we tried that. But it can also work with ARICO codes. It can work with QR codes. So if you've got a boxed item,
so if you're just bipping through it, you can.
Yes, if you've got a boxed item, you can put it on there, and it'll recognize. We can train it to look for the QR code.
Yeah.
Because obviously you don't want to change all of your packaging.
No.
So that's we launched that at the Hospitality Tech Show.
That was really cool.
And we've already got the integration into Centegra Plus with that.
So the kiosk and the credit card machine, is that you guys as well?
Yes. Okay, it's a full service solution.
Yeah.
It's a full service self-service solution. Yeah, I need to change the wording on that. I need to change the wording on that. And Mashkin in the US sell direct, but actually through the UK they're going through partners.
Yeah.
So we've been working quite closely with them.
So clever.
And
the price point was pretty. It wasn't too bad either. I think you should. It wasn't. You don't buy it. You just rent it.
You just lease it.
Yeah, you just lease it.
And
so
because the actual technology is incredibly expensive. So you just lease it on a contract. And it'll save you labour. It's about benefits. It's about speed.
But also experience, though.
Exactly. We talk. I was just
Sorry.
So we're talking about the frictionless. To get all of the buzzwords in, we're talking about the frictionless transactional experience.
Yes.
And that's what it's about. And it's fun as well. It kind of gamifies it. Kids love using it. They really do.
Sorry, I am a kid. So, but yeah.
So so that's going to be really interesting over the next 12 months. It's in a lot of use.
Analytics as well that comes out of it too, like
that's
speed.
Great. It's about what comes. Just I can't emphasize how fast it is.
Yeah.
It saves labour. And if once you get 3 or 4 of these, so they're in use a lot within airports and stadiums in the US. And you just save money. That's it. You save your labour.
I feel like it's the real Amazon, like the Amazon style shop where it's sort of not. They say it is, but not really AI. But I feel it's a bit like that. So you take it off the shelf, you just put it through, and you just put it in there and then pay because it either read the barcode or understand what the product is. Exactly. So variation of others. So even from retail all the way through.
Completely. So retail. So we're talking to a whole load of different universities are interested because it can also recognise the fact that you've got a chicken curry. It'll recognise the fact that on the plate there is some curry and some rice. Yeah. It blows me away every time I do it, and I don't get bored of just chucking. We've got some fake bananas and fake apples. Just put it on there and just chuck it on, and literally you chuck it on, take it off. Chuck it on, take it off, and it just recognises and you tap and go.
I think the interesting piece is the speed of the terminal, the credit card machine.
Yes.
And the update. I just didn't understand how. My brain took a while to understand how quickly the item was even removed from the receipt area.
It's less than a second. So you do that. By the time you've done that, by the time you've looked,
and then you pay it, and off you go. So it's really clever. So I'm quite excited to see. Yeah. I want you to let me know once it's out into a few. So I mean, is there any other stuff coming in the future?
Lots.
Oh, okay.
Lots. But we'll talk about that next year.
Amazing. On the next podcast.
Yeah. You've got to invite me back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're coming to the end, which is great. So I appreciate your time. Thank you. I'm going to give you a little. Thank you. Best restaurant. That's difficult, I guess, maybe because the clients, but it's your experience.
In my experience, can I choose 2?
Yes.
Okay. For the view. Yeah. For the view alone, a place called the Olive Thea Restaurant in Skiathos. Look it up. Yeah. I was lucky enough to go to a wedding there this summer. It is the most amazing view I've ever come across. And we're actually to the point where it's my 25th wedding anniversary next year.
Congratulations.
So we've already booked
to
go back there to spend our 25th wedding anniversary. So for the view, Olive Thea, it's Greek food. So I love Greek food. But it's simple simple Greek food. For food, I'm going to go slightly esoteric here, and it's a restaurant that you won't have heard of.
Okay.
There used to be one of the early sort of celebrity kind of chefs in Australia.
Okay.
Was a woman called Stephanie Alexander, and she had a restaurant, surprisingly enough, called Stephanie's.
Okay.
And it closed in 1997.
Yeah.
And it's still legendary within Australian circles. And that was the first fine dining experience I'd ever had.
How old were you then?
I would have been 20.
Okay.
Well, this is when fine dining didn't exist.
Yeah.
You just didn't.
No.
You just didn't. And I can still picture the blue swimmer crab.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can still picture it.
Yeah.
And it was the first restaurant I ever went to where I was given a menu and I didn't have prices.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to find. Yes. Wow.
So, so for the food, Stephanie's.
Okay.
My relatives took me there because they knew it was closing.
Are you a family over there?
Yeah, I've got cousins over in
okay,
Australia.
Cool. Awesome.
So for food, it would be Stephanie's.
Amazing. Best burger.
Best burger. There is only one, as far as I'm concerned.
Go on.
And we've supplied a lot of burger chains.
Yes.
So I'm going to not make the patty and Bonari Gold.
Oh, interesting.
Just the combination of cheese and pickled onions.
Yeah, great burger.
There's certain things I remember. I remember the first burrito I had at Chilango, and it blew my mind away. Yeah. And that was the first sort of better burger. This is when they'd opened.
But you worked with Joe.
Open.
I mean, Joe was he was a game-changing Tourette style guy. Yeah. He's just the whole. You were from the beginning. I remember. The early doors. It was Centegra all the way. And I remember that, and their product range was awesome, like Thunder Thighs and
exactly.
And they're cool. It was just cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Not only was the product good, it was cool. And I remember the Liverpool Street store. They did breakfast. I've never seen so many people in the queue.
Yeah. It was so I remember going in, and there was juice coming down my wrists, and it was
early doors.
It was one of the first times I'd been said, "How would you like the burger cooked?"
Yeah,
because normally it's just like you have a burger. So Ari Gold, patty and bun, still go back there now for it.
Nice. Best hotel.
Again, I'm going to go slightly esoteric. Last year, I had the pleasure of going to Florence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if have you been to Florence?
I've not been to Florence. No.
It's very, very nice. Very, very nice. And I had to look this up last night.
Yeah.
So I remember the name of it. It's a place called I am reading from this.
Yeah. You have to send it to me.
Yeah. It's a place called the Mulino di Firenze.
Okay.
And it's about 15 minutes outside the city of Florence. And we went there, and Florence is a hot city, and it's full of tourists. And I got sick of hearing American and Australian accents. It's an amazing city. We were there for 3 days. We went into the city nice and early. We did all the stuff. The Galleria. We did all of the different places. But it's about 10, 15 minutes outside of the city. But it's this kind of like an old Italian country house next to the river. And it's not the flashiest hotel.
Yeah.
And the room wasn't the nicest room I've ever stayed in is at the Renaissance at St Pancras.
That's a great hotel.
It's a very nice hotel. But just for the whole thing of the fact that we opened up the windows and we've got a view of the river, and there's a really nice restaurant there that you can go and drink really good cheap red wine and stagger back to your room.
Yeah.
But it was a kind of a haven away from the madness and the heat and the craziness of Florence.
Yeah.
We'd do all that all day, and then we'd catch a taxi and we just went,
breathe.
So it was really, really nice. Really nice people there, nice and sort of unassuming.
Yeah.
And just really, really good service.
Independent or?
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. We got it via booking.com.
Yeah.
It was one of the best decisions we made.
To be outside.
To be outside, because it was also a good 3 or 4 degrees cooler. It was really. But you're there and you can see the river and stuff
idyllic.
Like that. And it's right next to Fiorentina's training ground.
Okay. Oh.
It literally backs onto Fiorentina.
Well, that's why you were happy. Because you were
exactly. So that would be
amazing. Okay. 2 questions for the next guest. Could be operator, could be supplier, could be anyone, marketer.
Okay. So I've tried to go with something. So the best gig you've ever been to.
I like that. Yeah.
And the best piece of advice you've ever been given.
Okay, that's really good.
And I'll tell you why I said that. There's a couple of different things that I sort of live on, and this is something that Tom sort of drills into people, which is nothing is ever as good as it seems. Nothing is ever as bad as it seems.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. No matter just always just
in the middle.
In the middle.
Yeah.
In the middle.
Yeah.
Because if you're there, then you're good.
Yeah. I guess it's understanding as well. Like with it's Yeah.
It's a good way to live
It is
life.
a good. Yeah, 100%. I agree. Okay, I'm going to give you a round of applause. And the camera went off. Look at that. It went off right at the end. Look at that. So we can wave goodbye to everyone on the GoPro. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really good.